Now, whenever you're working with data, you have to name it in the program. In order to work with data, each piece of data has to have a name, and that's called a variable. A variable is just a name for an item of data that you're storing in computer memory. Page 43, you'll see there are some rules for naming variables. You can't start a variable name with a number, for example. But we can actually mess around a little bit in this interactive window, and I'm going to do that. We can mess around with using variables. I want that away. We can try, for example, we can say name equals Guido. I'm using single quotes. The strings will always show up in green. Now that doesn't do anything, but actually did do something behind the scenes. That just stored the name Guido into a variable called name. And I've got that same thing on the document over here. I'll try age equals 21. That's a numeric variable that I've just assigned the value of 21. The name of the variable is age. Always use a variable name that describes what you're storing in that variable. Age is a good one to store a person's age, obviously. Now notice that the numeric variable, when you assign it, it's not inside quotes. If you want to do arithmetic with it, which is usually our purpose with a numeric variable, you don't enclose it inside quotes. This would be an int variable, obviously, because I don't have any decimal places. But I've now put those two values into memory. Let's take a look at generating output. To generate output, you use the print function. You can use it in various ways. You can just put a string literal. You could do something like that. Watch what happens when I press enter. It'll execute. That's another good purpose of this interactive window. It allows you to test individual lines of code. Notice the string shows up green. The string is enclosed by apostrophes. That's next to enter on your keyboard, underneath the double quote. I could have used double quotes, by the way. Watch what happens. I will edit this line. What I'll do is I'll replace the single quotes with double quotes. If I start with the double quote, I got to finish with the double quote. But this will run the same way. Single or double quotes. Obviously, single quotes are easier because you don't have to hit the shift key when you're typing. But sometimes you'll want to have an apostrophe inside the string, like if you're using isn't or doesn't or don't or something like that, which requires an apostrophe. Well, then you would have to use double quotes for the surrounding quotes on the entire string. Any question about this so far? Anybody?
No.
All good? Have a question, just go ahead and ask. Try to help here. Now, as well as printing out the string, you can print out the values of a literal number. Like you could do a literal int like that. Doesn't really do much for you, but you could do it. More useful is to print out the variable that you've typed in. Let's try it with age. I've just retrieved it from memory. See, we stored it. We stored 21 in age up here, and now we're able to print that out. Similarly, we could print Guido's name by typing in name. Notice we don't put it inside quotes when we're referring to the name of the variable, though. Just the value that the variable is storing, that goes inside quotes. In fact, if I were to do this, if I were to put quotes around this, anybody want to take a guess at what that's going to output? Anybody? No?
It'll print the word name.
Yeah, that's right. Outputs name, which is not normally what you want to do, obviously, with the variable. Okay. Now you can use multiple print items with print. Let's see if I can just copy this out of here. Not sure if it'll copy properly because sometimes they use a different encoding scheme for the apostrophes. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, that looks like it's going to be okay. So I've got multiple print items, 3 different print items here. A variable, a string, and a variable, and separated by commas. It outputs beautifully with a space in between them in the output. Well, notice I did not type a space before the I or after the S. Python will automatically give you a space between print items that are separated by commas. That's the point we're making down here. Okay, so we're often going to be doing that in our programs. Keep in mind, though, we're not programming right here. We're just testing individual lines of code. A couple more things. Input. That's output. Let's take a look at input. Very often, this is one way to get input into your program by using the equal sign to assign values to variables. But very often, we'll want to get input from the keyboard. We'll want to write a program that runs interactively so that we can enter values from the keyboard. Well, in order to do that, the input function is required. And to use it, you put a prompt string inside the parentheses. Here's, for example, how we could ask the user to enter his or her name into a program. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try copying that. Even although we're not actually writing a program, I should be able to test that line of code right here. Okay, there's how it runs. Notice how it runs. It stops. Notice I've got a flashing cursor there. That's an indicator that something is expected from me. And so I will type in my name and press enter. Okay. Now, what just happened there? The name Brad was just assigned to this variable name. To prove that, I'm going to re-execute this line of code here. That should print the value stored in the name variable. There it is. So when you use input by itself, it gives you a string. It's for entering a string. And when you use input, you always put a prompt string inside the parentheses. And by the way, if you finish the prompt string with a single space, it puts a single space right here. If you don't do that, it doesn't look so good because it kind of jams the user's input up against the string. So always finish your prompt strings with a single space. Good idea. Okay, now that was for a string. But what if we want to enter a number? Well, to enter a number requires us to use either the int or float function. And what we have to do, we have to embed the input function inside int or float. And once again, we'll see if we can try an example here. Why don't we try this one right here? I'll copy it. And paste it right here. Now when I press enter, it's going to execute. Once again, there's the prompt, and I have a flashing cursor indicating that some action is required of me, and apparently I'm supposed to enter my age. Now, notice how the entire input function, I'll just highlight it here. There's the entire input function that is embedded inside the int function. 2 sets of parentheses required at the end here, 1 for each function. Okay, so I'll enter my age, I wish, and now that's been stored in memory. And I should be able to print it because it is in memory. Let's see if we can try something like this. How about name, comma, is, I guess I already had this up above, comma, age. Maybe I'll add a little bit more. Okay, now take a look at what we've got here. We've got multiple print items. You've got a variable, a string, a variable, and a string. And let's see what happens if I press enter. There it is. Name got replaced with the value that I assigned to name. Age got replaced by the value that I assigned to age. And because we have comma separators here, spaces were inserted between the print items. Any question about that? You folks still here? Give me a little feedback.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here. No questions yet.
Okay, very good.
I do have a question, and I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself, but on our string, what about special characters? Like, is that a consideration here if we want to accept special characters in the input?
I'm not sure what you mean like that, like dollar signs and things like that.
Yeah, dollar signs, asterisks.
No, you can put anything inside of a string.
Okay.
Yeah, anything at all. In fact, it's very commonly done. That's the type of data that you want to put in a string. Because obviously, you can't store it in a number, right? It's not a numeric variable. Yeah. Yep, you can do stuff like that. Okay, so just one more thing that I wanted to mention here, and then we'll open it totally up for questions. If you want to perform calculations, there's a table on page 54, table 2.3, that shows you the arithmetic or math operators that you can use. I think you're familiar with most of these. Plus sign, minus sign, asterisk for multiplication. A single slash is for division. Now, what you might not have seen before, that's kind of unique to Python, is a double slash is for integer division. Now, what that means is division and any fractional part is dropped. I hear somebody's television, I think. I appreciate if you could turn off your television while you're watching this, or at least turn it down. Okay, so a double slash gives you integer division. Like, for example, if some numbers don't divide exactly evenly, let's see if we can try something. We could, for example, try yeah, got a syntax error on that because obviously that's not a statement. But if I tried 12//5, I get a 2. I get the integer part of the answer. Obviously, the answer is 2.4, I guess, but which is what I would get, by the way, with a single slash, right? The single slash, I would get division 2.4. Double slash gives you just the integer part. Now, an interesting one is the percent symbol. Percent symbol gives you the remainder after division. So if I did, for example, 15% 8, I get a 7. The remainder, when 8 is divided into 15, is 7, because 8 goes into 15 once with the remainder of 7. And it's amazing how many times that remainder symbol can be used in computer programming. We can use it, for example, to determine if a number is odd or even. If we have, for example, 12% 2, we get a 0. There's no remainder. And that's actually how you detect an even number in computer programming. If the remainder is 0 when you divide it by 2, you know you have an even number. Conversely, if we had an odd number and we divide it by 3, or by 2, I should say, and if we get a 1, well, we know we have an odd number. Believe it or not, the computer itself does not know what an even number is or an odd number. It has to be done with the program. It has to be done with software. There's just one more operator there on page 54, and that's the double asterisk for exponentiation. So if we did, for example, 2 * 3, that's 8, 2 to the 3rd power, 2 times 2 times 2. 10 * 10, big number. Okay, I'm pretty much done with what I wanted to show you. There's a few more things in chapter 2 that you need to know in order to do your assignment. Any questions, folks, that I could help you with?
I did have a question about the pseudocode.
Okay.
I was looking at it. I watched the videos. I was looking in the book, and I have a little OCD. I like details. So, at what point does my pseudocode become more than pseudocode?
If you start,
I don't know if that makes any sense.
if you start using Python code in your pseudocode, that would be going too far, I guess.
Because I mentioned like using, because I really thought it out, and I mentioned, all right, the variable will be called this. This variable will be called this. The variable.
That's not bad. That's a good idea when you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. Selecting variable names when you create your pseudocode is a great idea. Let's just make sure everybody understands what pseudocode is. Pseudocode is just ordinary English, plain English, in which you work out the steps required to solve a programming problem in order. You have to get the proper sequence. For example, let's say the task is to change a flat tire. So what would the steps be to change a flat tire? I guess the great answer would be call AAA, right?
Right. Yeah.
Then that's it, one step of the pseudocode. But if you had to do it yourself, the first thing to do, I mean, you get out of the car, and then that's kind of getting silly, I guess, right? You open up the trunk, pull out the spare tire. But then would you jack up the car? Some of you,
No.
That's right. What do you do before you jack up the tire?
Check the lugs.
Right, you got to loosen those lug nuts. If you don't loosen the lug nuts and you jack up the tire, you try to take off the lug nuts, the tire will spin on you. You can't do it. So you got to get things in the right order when you're doing pseudocode. But it's just ordinary English. Let's see if I can pull up another blank document here. Maybe we can do some pseudocode for a particular problem. Let's say we want to get the pseudocode for a program that has to divide two numbers and show the quotient, which is the answer from division. Okay, so let's say that's the problem, is divide two, let's say two integers, and show the quotient. So there's the problem. So how would you solve that? Well, step one, let's make this an interactive program. I suppose I should specify that up here, but let's say this is an interactive program. So what you could say for step one might be use input function to get first integer and assign to about num1. Step two, pretty much a copy of that. Might be get the next integer or second integer and assign that to num2. It's a really good idea to select your variable names. Now, then you would use a divide. I assume we're going to divide the first one by the second one. Divide first. I could even refer to my variables here. Divide num1 by num2 and assign to answer. You could use the word quotient, I suppose. And then step four would be print the answer. That basically would be the pseudocode for that particular problem, I suppose. Now you could do it slightly differently and still be correct. Okay, that's just the pseudocode that I came up with. You could write different pseudocode, but I think you pretty much have to have a minimum of 4 steps, though. You might want to break it down into more than 4 steps.
So when I wrote mine, I wrote it with the intention of understanding what it is I wanted and what I wrote and what I wanted to do, and I know how to do it. Is the intention to write it with such clarity, I guess, that is it made for someone else to be able to interpret it and write it themselves? Or if I understand what I want to do, sufficient?
It really should work for anybody. Yeah, really good pseudocode should work for any reader. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's say, what do you say we try, why don't we write this program? We haven't actually written a program at all tonight, so why don't we try it? So I'm going to fire up the, this is the, I'll fire up from scratch here. That's the script window. When I first fire up Python, I get this interactive window. Control N will give me the script window. So this is where I'm going to write the program. So to start, I'm going to put a comment, which starts with a sharp symbol or pound sign, if you like. And I'm going to call this, I guess I'll call it division, because that's really what this program is all about. I'm going to call it division.py. And then I could put here my name, and I could put the date in here if I wanted to, et cetera, et cetera. You could put as many comments as you want in there. Usually, if you become a professional programmer, you'll have a particular policy that you have to follow at the firm where you're doing your coding. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to type in def main. I would like you to put all of your programs inside the main function. It's the only thing I don't like about this textbook. It doesn't do it initially. It doesn't break into using the main function, I don't think, until chapter 4 or 5, which is unfortunate, because we would like you to start using the main function. Most programming languages, like if you take C++, if you take Java after this course, you will be using the main function in those. And so this will get you used to that concept that your program is going to start and finish in the main function. Now, as soon as I typed in def main, by the way, notice def shows up in red, main shows up in blue, and then a colon after. Parentheses are required as well. It has to be just like that. When I press enter, you'll notice that my cursor is tabbed in. I believe it's tabbed in by 4 spaces. And that's the way it should be, because that's how Python determines what is inside main and what is not inside main. So let's refer to our pseudocode here. And what we basically have to do is translate each of these statements into Python. So we're going to use num1 for the first variable. So that would be num1 equals, these are supposed to be integers, so I have to use the int function and embed inside that the input function. And now we're going to say enter first integer. We could get fancy and I guess and say enter the dividend. I think that's what it's called in mathematics. Notice I need a double quote or double parentheses to finish this line. Watch what happens when I take the closing parentheses. It shows up in reverse video. That lets you know that you've closed the parentheses properly. That's a good thing to watch for. Okay, so that looks okay for the first one. Now I'm going to copy that for the next one. Of course, I'm going to call this one num2. And we're going to be this will be the second integer. Okay, we got those 2 values. We've just taken care of the first 2 lines up here. Now we want to divide num1 by num2 and assign the result to answer. So that would be answer equals num1 slash num2. By the way, notice I put a space on both sides of the slash symbol. We want you to do that. It makes your code more readable. It's just not quite as readable that way. And that's pretty standard procedure for computer programming. Okay, that's step 3. Now we want to print the answer. So go to our print statement and we say, we got a number of things we could say. We could say the answer is, I suppose, the answer is, close our quote, comma, put the answer variable, close our parentheses. Now I'm going to press enter a couple times, backspace out to the margin, and type in main and the parentheses, but no colon. And what that'll do is Python will scan this code, right? When we run this, Python will read these lines, and Python will say, okay, here's a function called main. It's got this stuff in it, and they want me to run the main function. That's a signal to Python, run the function called main. So that will run these lines of code. Okay, that's what's happening here. Now, let's give it a try. Before I can run this, I could hit run module, or I could just press the F5 function key. I don't think, unfortunately on a Mac, the F5 function key has another purpose. So you might have to run it like this, or use a control key of some kind. But anyway, let's give this a try. So when I go to run it, I'll be prompted to save it first. And I will save it, and I'll save it on my, I guess I'll just save it on my desktop. No, maybe I'll just save it right there in Drive C. Not a great place for it, but I'll put it there. And I want to call it division. The .py will be added for me. Okay, the file name that I've chosen will, the .py will be added to the file name. And there it goes running. Now it's running. Notice it runs in the interactive window. So I'll enter the first integer. We'll try 23 and 5. Looks pretty good. That seems to be working. It didn't crash on me. If it had crashed on me, I would get the red screen of death. For example, maybe I forgot this comma. Let's see what happens if I forget that comma. Invalid syntax. It's telling me that there's something wrong, and it's trying to help me find where the problem is, and hopefully you'll get used to these error messages. Don't be discouraged by not getting your program to run the first time every time. It's very unusual. We have to all work out corrections or debugs to our programs. Any questions about this one at all? Can you see how the pseudocode helps you get to the program? You sort of work out what you have to do logically, step by step, and then you convert each line of pseudocode into usually a line of Python. Now, that was kind of a simple output. We could get a little fancier. We could say num1, comma, then a string, divided by, comma, num2, comma, and then I could use an equal sign, comma, and then put the answer variable here. So I've got variable, string, variable, string, variable. Let's see what happens when we run that. I'll try some different numbers this time. This time I'll just press the F5 function key, saves it, and there it is. It's running in the same output window. By the way, it's quite all right to kill this window off. I will do it just for the heck of it. You can kill this off. Every time you run the program, it'll generate a new interactive output window for you. So I'm going to try 33, and I'll divide it by 7. Wow, we get a whole lot of decimal places there, as you can see. Now, maybe you want to control that. We do want you to learn how to do that. Maybe you want to control the display of decimals. In order to do that, what you need to use is yet another function. It's called the format function. It's not that tricky. We'll see if we can show you how to work it. It is described in chapter 2, and towards the end of the chapter. All I have to do is right here. It's the answer that I want to format. And so I will insert right here the format function. After what I want to format, I'll specify how I want to format inside of a string. And let's say I want to see it with 3 decimal places. I would put 0.3f and then close the parentheses. So let me just show you what we changed there. What we did is we use the format function. Whenever you use format, there's two parts to it. What you want to format, which is usually a variable name, and then how you want to format it. Well, I want to format as a floating point number. That's the purpose of the F. And I want to show it with 3 decimal places. That's the 0.3. And that has to be inside of a string. So once again, I'll run this one more time. And we'll see what we get. We'll try 178 divided by 26. Apparently that goes 6.846 times, rounded off to 3 decimal places. Now, obviously, when we're working with currency, we're going to be using 0.2F here. Any question about any of this so far, folks?
Nope.
I have these sessions with my other classes, and I have to say, this is the most quiet class I've ever had a webinar with. Usually I get all kinds of questions and so on, but I'm going to assume that you're not asking questions because you're understanding. Am I right?
Yeah, the chapters, this is the best textbook I've ever seen. The chapters are very clear.
Yeah, it's well written, isn't it? Gaddis is a very clear writer. He writes programming books for C# and C++ and Java as well. Yeah, he's very, makes a lot of money with programming textbooks. They're very popular. Okay, well, there's one more little thing. Let's say we write another program. So I'm going to create another program. What I'll do is I'll just modify this one slightly. I'm going to kill off this window, if I may, and I'll kill this off too. Instead, what we'll do is we'll put our pseudocode right inside the program this time. This time I'm going to write a program that, let's see, what we could do is, let's do something. I want to do something with currency. So let's find the price of an item after a discount. Okay, let's find the price of an item after a specified discount. So I'm going to call this one discount. Let's change the name. I'm always going to have the main function. So all I have to do is erase that. I'll save this right away with a new name. And this is kind of like a template that I can continue to reuse every time I want to write a program. Now I'm going to write the pseudocode first at the outside main here. We'll write the pseudocode. So what I was thinking is we're going to, let me try to state the problem. Let's assume that we're looking at a particular item and we can see the sticker price, or the tagged price of the item, but there's a sign saying that there's 25% off. So what we want to find is the discounted price after the 25% discount. So that's basically the problem here. So let's say that we want to do something like this. Prompt user for tag price assigned to price. Next thing we would want to do, prompt the user. Oops. Prompt the user for the discount rate as a percent. Usually discounts are expressed as a percent, and we'll assign that to about disc rate. That's the standard in Python, by the way. When you have a variable name that maybe has 2 names in it, like discount rate consists of 2 words, it's common to use an underscore to separate the 2. Okay, so now we want to compute the amount of discount. And we can do that by maybe that's not the best way to say that. How about we go with this? We could say multiply the disc rate times the price and assign to discount, because that's really what we're going to be doing, right? That's how you would calculate the discount. And then we could subtract that from the original price. So what we could say then next, we could say subtract the discount from the price and assign to sale price. Once again, we'll use an underscore. Now, what do we want to print here? Probably we want to print two things. Probably we want to print the amount of discount, and probably we want to also print the final sale price. So that's what I would say would be pretty good pseudocode for that problem. Now, any question about that and what we're going to do here? Let's see if we can write the program. So we've got two prompts for user input here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little comment right here in the program. By the way, these comments that I'm preceding with the pound sign, they do not execute. They're just like little notes to yourself or to other programmers that you work with that explain what's going on with the program. And as you know, I know you're all gamers. If you look at your video games, they're made by dozens of people that work together to create these games. And that's the way all programming is done these days. So it's important to put comments in your code so that members of your team understand what you're doing. So in this particular case, let's say we just put in here, get user inputs. So we want to go up to the first statement that we want to translate, which is this one here. So we're going to prompt for the tag price and assign to price. So the way that works is price. Now, that is going to be a float type variable, isn't it? A price has decimals in it. So we're going to have to use the float function and embed the input function inside that. We put the prompt string inside the second set of parentheses, enter the tag price, put a space at the end of the prompt string, two parentheses to close it. Now we also want to prompt for the discount rate, which we've decided to call disc rate. Now, I guess we have a choice here. We could ask them to enter it as a percent or enter it as a decimal. Like 25%, of course, as you know, is 0.25. But we did say up here, prompt for the discount rate as a percent. That's usually what you're going to see on a sign in the store, right? It's a percentage figure. So why don't we try this then? It could have a decimal in it. It almost never does, though, does it, when you're buying something? Like I've never seen anything on sale for 33.3%. They might say 1/3 off, but maybe we can do that with an int. Let's try that with an int for the percent. So we'll say enter discount percent. Put a space at the end of that prompt string, two parentheses to close it. Okay, so we're done with our inputs. Now we've got to do our math. So I'll make another little comment here. You always write programs in sections like this. So we're going to do the math, and the first thing we want to do is multiply the discount rate times the price to get the discount. So that would be discount equals discount rate times the price. Okay, step one. And then we want to get the sale price. The sale price be the original price minus the amount of discount that we determined. Okay, there's our calculations are done. Now all we have to do is display results or display output. You could use different comments. Doesn't have to be exactly like I've got here. But what I'm trying to show you is how the program breaks up into a series of stages here with these comments. Now, so what we need are two print statements. So we would say print. And we could say the discount is and that would be discount, but I would like to format it as currency. But wait a minute. I've forgotten something here. If we're going to enter the discount rate as a percent, to get the actual amount of discount, it's the discount rate times the price divided by 100, isn't it? Right? We've got to convert that percent into a decimal in order to multiply it by the price. So we have to remember to divide by 100. So the discount here will be, now I'd like to show it with two decimals, so I'm going to go with format. Discount is the name of my variable, and I'm going to format it with 2 decimal places, 0.2f. Okay, now I want to also put a dollar sign right here. Let's see what happens with that. Somebody is sliding something across their desk, I guess. I appreciate it if you refrain from doing that. Now the next thing we want is the sale price. And the sale price will be formatting the sale price with 2 decimal places. So it might be something like that. Let's see how this goes. There's one more little thing that I need to do with this to make it perfect. But I want you to see how this breaks down when we run it here.
Is that the percent sign
I don't really.
that multiplies it or something like that by 100?
I don't really need that. I don't think. You see, what I have to do is when we enter the discount percent by 25, we have to turn that into 0.25 when we multiply it by the price, right? So that's why we have to divide by 100. But that's all we have to do. We don't have to do any other manipulation with the percent. That's all. I think this is going to be okay. Let's check it. I don't get my programs right the first time every time, but let's give it a try. So here we go. So we're prompted for the tag price. Just move this over a little bit. We don't need all that room. Okay, so let's say it's, let's make it real easy so that we can do the math in our head mentally for the numbers here. Let's say it's something that's $40, which is almost never the price of anything, of course. And let's say the discount amount is 25%. So the discount is $10, the sale price is $30. And those are the correct answers, aren't they? I mean, that is correct. 25% of 40 is 10. And of course, when you take 10 away from 40, you do get 30. But there's one little thing in the output that I don't like. And I want to make a point of this because you'll need to know it for your assignment. And the point is, we don't want this space. We want the dollar sign right up against the first number of the currency amount. And so what we have to do is we have to cancel the normal comma that's inserted. You see, we got a space there because this comma inserted the space. A comma does insert a space between print items inside of a print statement in Python. So there is a way to cancel it though. And what you have to do is at the very end, in between the closing parentheses, you have to specify a separator of nothing, just an empty string. It's not even an empty string. There's nothing inside those 2 apostrophes. You need to do the same thing here. Sep equals nothing. This SEP operator will insert whatever you specify in between the print items in the print statement. So I think this is going to work better now with that change. And I wanted to make sure you saw that because you need to know it for your assignment. So I'm going to close this down and run this program one more time. And we'll try some different numbers this time. Let's say we want to get something for, once again, we'll try to keep the numbers reasonable so we can see if it's working properly. Okay, we'll buy something that's $100 and maybe we want 40% off. So the discount amount is $40. The sale price is $60. Looks good. Looks like it's working properly. But notice where the dollar sign is right up against the first digit. That's what we want to see. And that's pretty much everything that I wanted you to see tonight. I'm wide open for any questions you might have.
I have a quick question on this example you're giving us. What if the user enters $100 or 40 and then %?
That would crash the program.
Okay.
Yeah, for a number, you got to enter a number. I don't know if you've ever worked with the Excel spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
You put numbers in an Excel spreadsheet. You never put the dollar sign in, do you? You just put in the number and then you format it to show the dollar. Yeah, it's the same concept. Likewise, when you're filling out a form on the web, you never put a dollar sign in. You never put a comma in either for the thousands. By the way, that's perhaps there's one more thing I could show you, I suppose. You can also put a comma inside that format, little format string there, and then it'll display commas in the output for large numbers into the thousands. Let me show you what I mean. I'll put it in here for both. Comma in front of the period. Has to be in front of the period. So I'll run it one more time. So we're going to buy something that's a little pricier here. We're going to buy an $80,000 car. I don't have to put the 2 decimals in. And I want to get 15% off. Apparently that's a discount of 12,000, which would mean my sale price is 68,000. Notice the comma for the thousands. That's caused by this little comma right here. Anything else, folks?
Nope.
Okay, I will run it again. Let's say I put in here 200. See, it crashes. We call this the red screen of death. And it's quite common when you're starting new programming to make a lot of errors. That's the best way to learn. It's important to know what doesn't work as well as what works. You can't enter dollar sign for a number. Try to get used to the error messages. It will tell you the line number. It's telling me here that the problem is on line 14 of my program. And if I put my cursor right there, right down here in the bottom corner, it tells me the line number. So as you move up and down here, you can see the line number in the bottom right-hand corner of the window. And let's look at the message. Could not convert string to float. Yeah, it's impossible to convert. We can convert a string that holds digits only. You can't have any special characters. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Did not mean to interrupt.
Okay.
You moused over to the line. It gave you the line on the bottom of the screen. Is there a setting that can put the numbers on the side for viewing?
Show the line numbers out here on the edge.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's not in idle.
Okay.
No. You do have some options here where you can change the size of the font. I sometimes do that when I'm in class. And change the font size, which is helpful. Makes it easier to see on the big screen in the classroom. I better take it back. Not sure where I had it. Try 14. Any other questions, folks? Well, this session was scheduled for 1 hour. It's coming up 10:26. We've got a couple minutes left. Wide open for questions.
Yeah, nothing.
I encourage you to work through all of the books sample programs, and you can do that. You can download them from our page, from our course webpage. If you go in, if you're working on Module 2, you will see, if you open up one of the pages there, one of the links opens up a page, and you'll see a link where you can download all the assignments, all the sample programs that are in the textbook. Unfortunately, the author does not use the main function, but you'll still get the idea, I'm sure. Looking through my book here. Actually, I think I have the, actually got the ebook here as well. Should have had this open to show you a few pages. I want to show you where the couple other things you could look at, like say, I go to page 67. Come on. For some reason it's not letting me overwrite the number up here like it should. A lot of stuff before you get to real pages. Okay, there's page 67. Some special escape characters that are good to know. \n, if you put a \n inside of a string, it'll cause a new line. So like if you want to have a blank line after your print, you can use that. Formatting numbers starts on page 68. So that's where you'll see some examples about how to use format function. And there's a few more concepts in there as well. And then actually at the end of the book, they start playing around with turtle graphics. And that can be kind of fun. So I encourage you to try it. Any more questions, folks?
No.
No? Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to add the examples that we did tonight and the that one page with the where I tried to outline the features, that text document. And I think we might have recorded this session tonight. I hope so. Sometimes it doesn't work for me. And I'll also post a link to this recording so you can review it at your leisure if you wish. Have a good one. If you have any problems, keep in touch. I am in the Clearwater Learning Support Commons on the second floor of the library on tomorrow afternoon. And I'm also there on Thursday afternoon. We pay tutors to help you at our learning support centers. So please take advantage of that if you have any trouble. All right, if everybody's okay, I'm out.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Enjoy. Good night.
Yep, good night.